Sophia Chang, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You manage Old Dirty Bastard without any experience as a manager. You ran RZA's record label without any experience running a record label. I think you say in the book that risk is in my DNA.
Did I?
You do.
I wonder if I plagiarized that from somebody. That's really clever.
Risk-taking was in my DNA. Sophia, why is that?
I would say certainly my parents' stories have a lot to do with that. My mother, Sophia Chang, born in 1932, she escaped North Korea when she was 14. She was one of 10 siblings. That was a huge risk. It was a very risky boat ride. My father, he was, God rest his soul, he was estranged from his father, and he took a risk when he studied mathematics in Vancouver. They went to Canada to build a better life for their family. So none of that was explicit in my head as a child, but I think that that's probably the model. And I think the other thing that really supported my journey and my risk-taking was that my parents, every move that I made, they encouraged me. After I moved to New York, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place. Their peers would say, your daughter, what's she doing? Get her back.
They would have had a good answer because when you moved to New York, I think one of the first jobs you had was working for Paul Simon.
Paul Simon, yeah.
Paul Simon had a personal assistant who I think was a Korean-American woman.
That's right.
And I think she taught you almost explicitly that it was important for you to take up space in a room. How is, not just confidence, but something like unapologetic confidence, how is that a risk?
I think when you take an intersectional view of this, right? When you think about the fact that I am a woman and I am Asian, and I mostly navigated, Max, very male-dominated milieu. And yes, I remember, her name is Sophia Chang, God rest her soul, and I remember watching her move and I thought, wow, and she was smaller than me. She would just burst into a room and you could just feel her. She didn't have to yell, she didn't have to do any of that, but her energy just emanated off of her. And I really took that lesson from her.
But, it occurs to me that you talk about losing the fear of embarrassing yourself.
Yes.
I think when you're at like Atlantic Records in an early job.
Yeah.
People have a fear of embarrassing themselves for a reason because it's self-protective. It's a kind of shield.
Yeah.
So it occurs to me to ask, maybe the question I really want to know is why is it so risky to be yourself?
I think that in general, we as humans operate out of fear, just in general. So if we're in a meeting and there are 10 people sitting around the table and maybe I'm junior and I have an idea, my fear, and even if I think it's so smart, my fear is I open my mouth and everybody goes, and it's like the record scratch, rewind, and then everybody looks. I think we all live with a real fear of humiliation, embarrassment, excommunication, reprisal.
Right.
So I have gotten to the point where I just don't care. I mean, it's so incredibly liberating not to care what other people think. It doesn't mean that I don't get my feelings hurt. For me to be out here speaking as openly and fearlessly as I do, I know from people who come up to me that I'm setting an example.
One way of thinking about risk is that it's a kind of bet on the unknown.
Yes, of course.
It's a way of endorsing one kind of future over another. What are the risks, or maybe a single risk, that you still want to take?
I feel like I take risks all the time. I feel like my life is full of risk, and that does feel reckless, but I just turned 58 and I want to fall in love again. And that's really scary for a woman over 35. Never mind a woman over 40, over 50, close to 60. And what does that mean for a woman of a certain age to want to fall in love again? Well, that means you've got to put yourself out there. That's a risk. Because of patriarchy, because of ageism, because of all of those things.
Well, I wish you love, and I wish you many happy risks.
Thank you.
Sophia Chang, seriously, I loved having you here.
And I love being here. Thank you so, so much. Thank you.
Watch the Businessweek show, Thursday nights, 10:30 Eastern on Bloomberg Television, or 8:30 on Bloomberg.com or the Bloomberg app on connected TVs.